It's interesting to me. Women will meet me, and when they talk to me about the feelings they have behind their relationship ending, it can sound like, I really am so angry with them. I hate them. I hope really awful things happen to them. I am so mad at them. Women who struggle after a relationship ends, when there is a lot of rage and resentment and bitterness, it's dangerous for them. It's bad for them to try and get through this grief process, letting go process, and moving on process in a constant state of anger and rage and bitterness and resentment, because it kind of eats them alive. It's understandable sometimes, at the beginning we can feel really angry, we've been hurt, they've moved on like nothing happened. You gave everything to the relationship, you're the one who held the family together, you carried the weight of the relationship, you did all the heavy emotional lifting, and now they've gone and you've been left behind and you're in beds, and they're off living their best life, having a fantastic time. So of course you're angry, I get it. Of course you might be bitter. It's okay for you to say that and say it out loud and say it in the early days quite often. But the truth is, if you keep feeding the rage, it's going to end up eating you alive. And you have to be mindful about that. Anger is a part of the grief process, but if it's prolonged anger and it doesn't seem to dissipate, it can really turn on you and change the way you are, and it's not good for you. Like I said, rage is a normal part of grief, especially if you feel like they've discarded you. Especially if you feel like this was something you weren't expecting, or they've betrayed you, they've had an affair, or they've done something else that is equally as awful and really distressing for you. And we can be left, questioning, this is so unfair. This happened to me. I didn't do anything wrong. So we may not be overreacting rather. The anger can be real, and the sense of betrayal and abandonment, and maybe staying in relationships where our needs weren't met for a long time, but we stayed because it was important for us to do that. We can be left feeling really distressed. The problem with rage, though, is it begins to ooze out into all areas of your life, not just about your ex. It can ooze into other things too. All emotions are good, all of them, no matter what they are. Anger is a healthy emotion to have, but if it starts to seep out of us into other things, it can really start to poison our life. And we need to be able to process the anger and then regulate ourselves. Rage can become a coping strategy. It can be a way of managing a lot of distress, because anger is a secondary emotion. So the first feeling we have is anger, and underneath that is the hurt, the sadness, the loss, the grief, the loneliness are all underneath. And if we just stay in the anger the whole time, it's going to cost us our peace. We probably won't have good sleep. Our nervous system will be really overcharged and really in a dysregulated state. So the anger itself isn't the problem. It's that we have to move through the anger and get to the other feelings. That's how we can grieve in a healthy way. If we get stuck in a negative cycle, it can impact our ability to let go of the relationship and to move on in healthy ways. So it's really important when we are in that stuck stage maybe, and we are feeling quite angry, it's important for us to start asking ourselves some really important questions that are going to help us get unstuck, and thinking about, who am I and what do I want in my life? Forget about the other person, what they've done, but how do I want to be in my world? Who do I want to be, even though I'm in a lot of pain? And it's not about forgiving them or letting them off the hook or any of that. It's about, for us, what are we doing so that we can get free from some of these really strong, quite negative, quite challenging emotions? It's important for us to remember that being right and proving a point actually might lead us away from things in our lives that are really positive and healthy and good for us. We can't make space for the next chapter of our life if we're stuck in the anger of the past. There are some women who get into a space of false comfort, like the anger can be a nice little shield around them. Bitterness can sometimes give us the illusion of power. We can feel really justified in our anger, and so we can kind of get stuck in it and stay in it. We can tell ourselves that, we're holding them accountable really for their actions. That's what it's all about, doing that. But the bottom line is, if you're drinking poison and expecting them to die, that's not how it works. If we are in an angry, unsettled, distressed state all of the time, the person who is suffering is us. We are abandoning ourselves. And that's, you know, we have to be mindful of that. And yes, I get the anger, but if it taints your whole life, who's suffering? Because they're getting on with their lives. They're busy doing their thing, and the anger is sitting with you day to day in everything that you do. So how in the name of God do you process all of these feelings, deal with them, move through them, and get to the other side of them? And some of the really simple things that you can do is kind of just think about what you're feeling. You know, I feel resentful, I feel angry, I feel frustrated, I feel betrayed, I feel wounded. Whatever the feeling is, try and work it out. That's the first thing. The next thing is about making sense of it. You know what I mean? Like, I can feel this feeling, but I don't have to act on it. Or I don't have to act on it in ways that are going to be hurtful to me. Maybe I can beat a pillow or scream into a pillow, or, you know, tear up something that's not going to be damaged. Maybe I can do something to push through the anger and feel the anger and get it out of my body, and then come back to myself in healthy ways. Maybe you sit down and you write every feeling out. You know, you just free write everything you want to say to them, all of it, every last ounce, unfiltered, and just absolutely hammer it out. Get it on paper. And then when you're finished and you can feel that relaxation in your body because the tension will go, then burn the paper or pour boiling water over it or tear it into tiny bits. Don't hang on to it, let go of it. And when you're doing that process of tearing or burning or melting it away in water, let it dissolve some of that anger with it. You know, if anger builds up in our system, it can shut us down. Like, it can shut us down psychologically. We might not be able to connect to other people. We might not be able to stay inside of our own bodies and be calm. That kind of stress isn't good for you. It's really important to try and calm yourself and calm down your system. Do calming things, things that are going to help you feel better. You know, breathing is your friend. Lots of good, deep, cleaning breaths. You know, having a nice warm shower or a warm bath, going for a walk, you know, sticking your feet in cold water, but doing things that bring you back into your body and calm your system down. It's really important when you're going through hard things to look after yourself in really big ways every single day, every single day. Anger is not bad, and anger is just your system saying to you, somebody did something really awful to me and it really wounded me. And that's what anger's telling you. And it's okay for you to feel angry. It's okay for you to process anger in a really healthy way. And when you're finished processing it, to feel the feelings underneath, the sadness, the grief, the loss, the heartache, the betrayal, whatever the feelings are that are underneath that anger. If we sit in anger and we stay in anger, we can't rebuild our lives. You know, we need to choose ourselves. We need to go, you know, this thing happened. I can't do anything about that, but I can take care of myself today. I can love myself today. I can find ways of looking after myself. You know, if you were in a relationship for 10, 20 or 30 or 40 years, that might be really hard for you to do, and I get it. On my YouTube channel, I offer live Q&A sessions on a regular basis where you can come and ask me questions, and I'm happy to answer your questions. You could subscribe to my channel. There are playlists about all sorts of different things. You're welcome to come and listen through some of those videos. You know, there's nothing worse than 2 o'clock in the morning not being able to sleep and tossing and turning. This might be a space to come and just listen to some stuff and see if it helps. I talk about everything to do with relationships ending, especially in longer term relationships, especially in that mid part of life. So if you are stuck and you need a little bit of help, please do come along to my channel. In addition to that, I offer a Heartbreak to Healing workshop a couple of times a year. It's a free event where I bring women from around the world together and I teach skills and strategies to help you through those incredibly difficult first 3 to 6 months. If you are needing something like that, there should be a link on my page. If you can't find it, hit me up in the comments. I'll be more than happy to give you the link. And in the meantime, take care of yourself. Bye.